Hello and welcome back to this week's YouTube video. If you've not been here before, my name is Tracy Mayhew and I write contemporary romances set here in the UK and YA fantasy fiction. So this week is going to be my last video until, well, after Christmas definitely, but maybe even until January, I'm not sure yet. Depends on how I feel. Before I get into this week's video, I want to apologise. I've had a cold, well, it's kind of like chesty cough kind of thing. I lost my nearly lost my voice a couple of days ago, so I am still a bit excuse me, chesty. So I apologise for any coughing. I do have water with me, so I will be probably drinking some of that throughout the video, just to make sure I stay hydrated and that my throat stays lubricated. Okay, so this week's video is going to be all about what I've been reading in November and what I will be reading, and kind of what I've been reading in December actually, because it's kind of been a bit of a crossover there, and what I will be reading for the rest of December. So I'm going to kick off first of all with my November reads, which I don't know if you remember, at the beginning of November I said I was going to read two books in particular. They were The Little Christmas House by Tracy Reese and Snowed In for Christmas by Sarah Morgan. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes because I've not been 100% this week. My brain's not fully in gear, so I've got my notes. If I'm constantly looking over, I'm checking what I need to say next. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's not a nervous tick or anything that I've developed. So I also read two other Christmas books that I'm going to talk to you about as well. So I underestimated how many books I would read in November. I think going into Nano, I thought I'd probably not read as much, but I was able to get a little bit more reading done. So that was really good. Particularly because I took the last week of November off, so I was able to catch up on any reading days that I'd missed out throughout the first 3/4 of the month. So the first book I'm going to start with is The Little Christmas House by Tracy Reese. Now this book was a little bit hit and miss for me, I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to give any spoilers to any of the books, hopefully. I'm going to try not to. So Little Christmas House tells the story of a romance between Holly, who is a teacher, and Edward, who is a single father, whose daughter Eliza is in Holly's class. They've both suffered heartbreak in the past for various reasons. Excuse me. So are a little bit reluctant to put their hearts on the line again and be vulnerable. The story is told from 3 points of view. So we've got Holly's point of view, Edward's point of view, and Eliza's point of view. My favourite point of view out of the three was Edward's. I really liked how he was always trying to do his best for his daughter. He was always putting his daughter first. It was really nice to see that side to a character. The one that I struggled with was Eliza's point of view, because her chapters seemed to be pretty eloquent for an 8-year-old. Now, being a teacher, and this is probably the teacher in me, I know a lot of 8-year-olds, and I'm thinking they don't sound like this. They're not as eloquent as this. They're not as thoughtful as the way Eliza was portrayed. So those chapters were a bit more challenging for me. And as I say, it was a little bit of hit and miss, mainly because most of the chapters felt more like info dumps rather than just letting things develop naturally and letting me as a reader learn things as we went along with the story. It just felt like there was a lot of information being dumped. And another thing that I struggled with was that the characters who the story was about didn't actually meet until chapter 17, which was about 50% of the way through the book. So I was just like, it didn't give enough time to really build up any chemistry between them. So there was things that I liked about the book. There were things that I didn't like so much about the book. I wouldn't necessarily say don't read it, because there was a lot of things to like the two main characters' chapters were really good and really easy to read. There were plenty of cosy Christmas vibes that I enjoyed. It was just there were other things that kind of let it down for me, but that may just be me, and that's my opinion. So the second book that I read, actually this isn't in any particular order, this is just as I've gone through making notes. So another book that I read was Christmas at the Cat Cafe by Jessica Redland. this came out, I think, I can't remember if it was the end of October or the beginning of November, and it was a bit of a surprise for me. It just appeared on my Amazon email one day, and I was just like, well, if it's a story about a cat cafe, I have to read it. So I got this and I read it. I have to admit, I really enjoyed this book. It was about a woman called Tabby, who's setting up her dream business, which is a cat cafe, which is kind of my dream business. So I kind of got her straight away. And there's an amazing love interest in this story called Tom. He's really sweet. He's really caring. Tabby has some personal issues that she's dealing with, and Tom's really understanding with that, really supportive, and that was really nice to see. And yeah, they were friends first. They were like best friends, and then their feelings developed for each other, and that was really the course of the way that those feelings developed were really, really played well. But I have to say, my favourite character were the cats. I think there were about 16 in all, and they all had their own little personalities and everything, and I could kind of see, some of my own cats in these cats that featured in this story. So I was kind of, swayed towards those cat characters a little bit, probably too much. But yeah, I would definitely recommend that as a good cosy Christmas read as well. Another book now we're going back to that. Snowed In for Christmas by Sarah Morgan. As I said in my November video, I have read Sarah Morgan's books before, and I do really enjoy them. And this story is again another book I really enjoyed. And she's got another book out this year called I think it's called The Christmas Book Club, but I haven't had a chance to read that, and I'll explain why later on in the video. But yeah, again, Snowed In for Christmas was another really enjoyable book. It was about 3 siblings, Ross, Alice and Clemmy, who went home for Christmas, back up to Scotland. They all live in London, and they all lead their own separate lives. So Ross manages his own business, his own sportswear business. You've got Alice, who's an A&E doctor, or an emergency room doctor. And then you've got Clemmy, who's kind of like a live-in nanny kind of thing to a family in London. But they all go home, and they're all harbouring their own secrets, which obviously come out over the course of the book, which was really good to see, because it also played out the complicated dynamics of family, and like how children sometimes, you see it in Hallmark movies all the time, where the children want to keep secrets from their parents because they don't think they'd understand and things like that, and really they've been wrong the whole time. Parents do understand and things like that. But it was a really good dynamic to show, and there was a grandmother as well, who was really funny. She just said she was just really honest. She shot from the hip in every occasion, and so she was probably saying what was on most of the readers' minds, to be fair. Certainly saying what was on my mind a lot of the time. So that was good. She was funny. I think her name is Jean. So yeah, read it for that, if nothing else. What I would say was, I would have liked to have seen Ross and Lucy's relationship develop a bit more. We saw glimpses of it, but because I think we were following Alice's point of view as well as Clemmy's as well as Ross's, we didn't actually see any of them we didn't stick with one main relationship developing, so it all felt a bit quick sometimes, and I would like to have seen a little bit more of Ross and Lucy kind of developing feelings for each other and going through Christmas activities to help them fall in love along the way, kind of thing. But beside that, I do recommend that book. It's a really good book. My last Christmas book this year was A Christmas Truce by Emma Bennett. Again, this was Emma Bennett's an author tuber that I've discovered recently on YouTube, and I didn't. So I've not read all of her books, but this Christmas book came out, and I thought, do you know what? This Christmas book, I'm going to read it. So I read it, and I was not disappointed. It's a really nice, cosy book. It tells the story of a woman called Libby who, just after discovering her boyfriend's been cheating on her, she lands a job with this enigmatic, mysterious businessman called Seth Coleman, I think. Let's have a check. Yeah, Seth Coleman. And then they're kind of like, well, the blurb described it as grumpy sunshine. And yeah, he's kind of like, he's a bit acerbic at first, like a bit standoffish. But obviously that changes over the course of the book, and we learn a bit more about him, and as Libby learns a bit more about him, and then we've got some great side characters in there that sort of support Libby along the way and support Seth as well. But that's more behind the scenes, I think. Most of the stories, I think all of the stories, told from Libby's point of view. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then add to that a surprise delivery of a golden retriever puppy who eventually gets the name of Barney. You have the makings of a really, really nice Christmas book, and I really recommend you checking it out. You won't be disappointed. It's really, really good, and I think it's about 99p on Kindle on Amazon right now, so definitely worth giving that a go if you are inclined to read some Christmas books before the end of the year. Excuse me. Now, I have come away from the Christmas books because, I blame Christopher Paolini because he released, a few years ago, he wrote a series called The Inheritance Cycle. Started with Eragon, went through Eldest, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Brisinga was the third book, and Inheritance, which is the last book. And I went through those in my 20s, just loved them. And once you get to Inheritance, there was a vague promise that he was going to be doing more books set in Alagasia in the world of Eragon, but he kind of didn't, and time went by, and then he did some sci-fi books, which I'm not really into sci-fi, so I haven't really checked those out. If you have read them and you do recommend them, let me know, because I would like to know if they're worth checking out. But anyway, a few weeks ago, was it at the beginning of the year, he released the news that he was writing a 5th book in Alagasia in the world of Eragon, and it was told from the point of view of Murtagh, one of my favourite characters in the whole of the series. So that came out on the 7th of November, and my mum said, I'll get it for you for Christmas, so that's great. The book came, and then I'm like, I haven't read Eragon for ages, so I better start reading that so that I can read Murtagh and sort of be immersed in that world again. So I'm going to do, it's not like a live unboxing because I've already opened it to check that it's okay, but this is the book that I'm getting for Christmas. I'm not allowed to look in it because I've been told by my mum not to look in it because it will spoil the surprise. But so this is the book that is the reason I'm rereading Eragon right now, and it is it's huge. It's amazing, and these are all the stories set in the world of Eragon. So this I will be sharing with you in January or maybe even February, because those books that I'm reading. The series itself is massive, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to read it by January, but definitely by February I'll be reading this. But that's got to go into the box in a minute, so hold on one second, I'll just put that over there. So I've been rereading from the start Eragon. As you can see, this is a well-loved, well-used copy of the book. I have it on Kindle as well, which has become... I used to take these. This is the rest of the series. So you can see how big they are, especially the last two. I used to take those to school with me. It fell. Oh well. I used to take them to school with me in my rucksack. I honestly don't know, in uni. I honestly am not sure how I managed to get that in my book as well as everything else. But I did it. I mean, life of a bibliophile, I guess. But anyway, I've started rereading on the Kindle Eragon, and I've got to say, I love it. It has a real nostalgic feel for me. If you've not read it before, I will say it's not without fault. I'm not saying it's brilliant and it's perfect. It isn't. Some of the chapters do end quite abruptly, which can be as a reader quite jarring. And I do find that again, this is the teacher in me, I think, coming out, that some things were solved rather too quickly, like Brom's teaching of Eragon to read. I mean, he couldn't read, and then suddenly he could read, and I just thought, it doesn't work like that. But that was the teacher in me. Back in the day, I was like, oh yeah, that's great. But now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, yeah, maybe take a slightly longer than a week or two, But apart from that, I love the story. The characterisation is brilliant. Brom is one of my favourite characters. He's like kind of like the Merlin character to King Arthur, I suppose, like the wizened teacher helping out the chosen one. And then you've also got Eragon and Saphira's banter. Saphira is Eragon's dragon. Eragon basically discovers a dragon egg and discovers that he's a dragon rider, which is a race or a group of people that have kind of been that have kind of died out over the years. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, so that's basically the crux of it. He discovers he's a dragon rider, and then he needs to go up and fight the Empire. And Saphira is his dragon, a beautiful blue dragon, and they communicate with each other mentally, and you get to see some really, really good banter between the two of them. And Saphira's sarcasm towards like Eragon's immaturity and hot-headedness is at times really, really funny. But I think that's great because reading this now, I get to think he's quite immature at this point, which makes sense because he's only just turned 16 or 17. So he would be, and he's, just discovered he's got this huge, pressure on his shoulders. So, he will make mistakes, but it also gives him room to grow later in the series, which I'm looking forward to rereading again. It's been ages since I've read this, as I say, so I can't remember everything that happened, but rereading it again has sort of shown me different things to characters, different things to the world building as well. The world building is amazing. I mean, Allegasia, I will show you the map here because, who doesn't love a map? But this is the map. So Allegasia is a massive world, and there's so many different creatures and different kinds of races in there as well. It's really interesting to learn about them, and as you go on through the series, you meet elves as well. So it's quite interesting if you like that kind of fantasy, that kind of epic fantasy feel. And each time I read it, I'm learning more and more about the world itself as well as the characters. So yeah, if you've not read Eragon, give it a read. If you have read Eragon or any of the series, let me know what you think. And if you've read Murtagh, let me know if it's any good, but don't give me any spoilers. Thank you. No spoilers here, please. So that leaves us to move on to my December reads. And luckily, the book that fell was not the book that I need, so that's good. So this is Eldest, which is book 2 in the Inheritance Cycle. I'm right at the end of this book. I think I'm on the last chapter now, so it won't be long until I'm ready to read this. And then I will go on to this now. And do you know what? I'm going to read the blurb for both Eragon and Eldest because I usually do that anyway. So I'm going to do that now. So this is the blurb for Eragon. What was once your life is now legend. When Eragon finds a polished blue stone in the forest, he thinks it is the lucky discovery of a poor farm boy. But when the stone brings a dragon hatchling, Eragon soon realises he has stumbled upon a legacy nearly as old as the Empire itself. Overnight, he is thrust into a perilous new world of destiny, magic, and power. With only an ancient sword and the advice of an old storyteller for guidance, Eragon and the fledgling dragon must navigate the dangerous terrain and dark enemies of an empire ruled by a king whose evil knows no bounds. Can Eragon take up the mantle of the legendary dragon riders? The fate of the empire may rest in his hands. So that's Eragon. And Eldest, so this is the book that I'll be reading in December. Darkness falls, despair abounds, evil reigns. Eragon and his dragon Saphira have just saved the rebel state from destruction by the forces of King Galbatorix, cruel ruler of the empire. Now Eragon must travel to Ellesmere, land of the elves, for further training in magic and swordsmanship, the vital skills of the dragon rider. It is the journey of a lifetime, each day a fresh adventure, but chaos and betrayal plague him at every turn, and Eragon isn't sure whom he can trust. Meanwhile, his cousin Roran must fight a new battle back home in Carverhall, one that puts Eragon in even graver danger. So, Roran, you don't see much of him in this one, in Eragon, but he becomes more of a main character from this book on. He's another great character. I mean, all the characters are great. I mean, even the baddies are really good character, really good. So yeah, that's my December read. That was my November reads. I hope you can pick up something of interest for yourself. let me know what you've been reading, and let me know what you plan to read, and if you're getting any books for Christmas, let me know as well. So as I said at the beginning of the video, this will probably be my last video, well, definitely will be my last video before Christmas. It may be my last video for the year, but I'm not sure yet. It depends how I feel after the festivities have died down. I have a lot of things to plan out for next year as well, for my writing and my author business, so it depends on how I can balance the two. So I just want to take this moment to wish every one of you a very happy Christmas and a happy New Year, if I don't get a chance to say so beforehand. And I look forward to seeing you again in the new year. Let me know. No, sorry. Sorry. I read part of my notes there that I shouldn't have read. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this to my channel if you want to be notified of any further future videos that I upload. But until then, have a great Christmas, and I will see you in the new year. Bye.